Hey guys, it's Blair here. I wanted to give you all a quick little product tour. There's been a lot of interest in time trades lately. I'm grateful for that. Thanks for following me on Twitter. And for those of you that haven't really seen the app, I wanted to give you a sense of what it is and what it does and also what it doesn't do. So right now I'm logged in. You can tell because it says log out in the top right. So I'm logged in under my account, and we're going to start with just Apple. You type in the symbol in the top left here, and there's an autocomplete. There is a fixed set of symbols that the product supports right now. I don't support anything or any symbol at the moment. There's about 100 different symbols that I'm generating machine learning models for overnight. So just start by typing in a letter that will match the symbol you're interested in. Hopefully there's a hit in the symbols that I'm training. At the moment, I am limited by my free data provider to really just North American stocks and indexes. I can't do commodities or futures at the moment, but hopefully one day when Time Trades graduates to a proper paid service, then we will be able to broaden out the list of supported symbols. Those of you that trade crypto, I've got Bitcoin, and I've got Ethereum, and I've got ADA, and I think that's about it. All right, so let's just use my most familiar stock here, Apple. After you type in a symbol, downloads the end of day data. So Time Trades always works on daily data. In the future, I plan to add weekly and monthly, but there's no sort of intraday at the moment. Again, that's an idea in the back of my head. In the future, when we have a paid service, I'll be able to display intraday moves on it. But Time Trades really isn't intended for sort of 5-minute trading or 10-minute trading. I'll show you how we can integrate with lower time frames later in the video. Okay, so what you're looking at here, I'll just give you a tour of the screen. This top swim lane is for major pivot highs. So this is the predicted major pivot high. So it says up here, net probability of a pivot high. And if I move my mouse over here, it says it's up to 16%, and over here it says it's up to 16% again. And as we extend out into the future, we can see some other smaller predicted pivot highs. The probability over here on December 21st is 6%. The next swim lane down is the net probability of a 5-day decline greater than minus 4.4% down is right now it's a 0% probability, and minus 9.4% down, again 0% probability for where my mouse is, which is June 1st, 2019. So what do those numbers mean? Okay, minus 4.4% down, that is a 1 standard deviation decline. Okay, so I've analyzed the price, and I've identified the mean, and I've identified the 1 standard deviation move, and I identified the 2 standard deviation move. And a 1 standard deviation move down in Apple is minus 4.4%. 2 standard deviations is 9.4%. Okay, so these are represented by the skinny orange bars and the thick red bars. So the skinny orange bars show the 1 standard deviation move down. The thick red bars show the 2 standard deviation move down. And as you move your mouse over it, you can see the text description on the left-hand side there change and update. Okay, so the next window here, this is the price, of course, and as I wave my mouse around, the crosshairs move, and the little text update in the top left corner here changes to indicate what is the open, high, low, and close price for that day. Time Trades really does not use volume in any of its predictions. The next swim lane down here is the net probability of a 5-day increase greater than 5.5% up, which is 1 standard deviation, and 10.4% up, which is 2 standard deviations. Okay, so this is, you can see the predictions here in the second from the bottom swim lane. When I'm analyzing these, I actually kind of look for alternation between, the big down days. You can see up here is a predicted down day. So that's November 13th is peak swoosh down. And then along the bottom here, we've got the predicted up days. So November 18th, we've got about a 11% probability of a 1 standard deviation increase. And then we move out to November 27th, and it goes up again. Oh, and then if we look up here, we've got another swoosh down. So you can see some of the predicted back and forth. Now it's important to keep in mind that these are probabilities, right? You have to look at it in that light. Odds are it's going to be wrong, okay? But it gives you a starting point for a roadmap for a trading strategy, and that's what I appreciate about time trades. That's one of the reasons why I created it. So you can see here, starting December 14th, we've got a correlation between a top and a big move down, and then an even bigger move up that lasts an entire 2 weeks between December 21st and January 7th. And of course, there's a major astrological event happening December 21st with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. So it's interesting how time trades has picked up on that. Okay, and then on the bottom here, we've got the net probability of a pivot low. And it's just the probability that whether or not this is going to be a significant pivot low. Okay, so let me share a little bit about how this works and where these numbers come from. Okay, so the way machine learning works is we take the actual price data, and we set aside 25% of that. And the history that I'm downloading is 20 years of daily data, okay? So I'm setting aside 25% of that. So the remaining 75% of the daily data history, I'm using that to train the model. Okay. So the model sees 75% of the daily data history. That is used to generate and optimize the model. And then the remaining 25% is used to validate the model. And the whole objective of the model training process is to make the accuracy of the predictions for the 25% of the data that the model has not seen before, and make that accuracy and make that accuracy as high as possible, and reduce the loss as much as possible. So that's a little bit of machine learning speak, but under the hood, it gives you a sense of what's happening here in the past, and why these predictions look so good. It's important to understand that odds are that the model has been trained on these data points here. So 75% of the historical data points have been used in the training process, 25% in the validation process. Okay, so now what can we do with this? Let's go up here to settings. I'll give you a tour of some of the menus. All right, so the first one I'm going to show is net probabilities. Okay, so obviously when you've got probabilities of something happening in two different directions, they can be offsetting. So by default, net probabilities is on because I only want to see the netted out option. When I turn net probabilities off, then you see the actual total probability, even though you can see up here, there's a 31% probability of a pivot high, but there's also a 16% probability of a pivot low. So I added the net probability feature because I don't want to always be doing the math in my head. So by default, that's on, but you can turn it off if you want. Show strong bars is a little technique I picked up from Connie Brown's book, and this just highlights bars that have a percent change 2 standard deviations greater than the mean. Okay, so you can highlight those pretty easily. Auto Analyze is a fun little feature that I've got. It's still under construction, but right now it will automatically display GAN fans for you. And the GAN fans are set in 3 places, okay? They're set at major pivot highs. The system will automatically detect a pivot high. You don't have to go and manually chart it out. It'll be set at major pivot lows, and it'll also set a GAN fan at the 0 level coming up from a major pivot low. So if we scroll over here, we can see here's a major pivot low, of course, March 23rd. And there's 3 lines coming out from that. The top one is the 2x1 line, so it's going up 2 points and across 1. The middle one is the 1x1 line, and the bottom line is the 1x2 line. So it's going across 2 lines and up 1. Now we've got this line over here. Now this guy is coming up from 0. So this is the 2x1 line coming up from 0 on March 23rd. Now I haven't added the ability to sort of scroll around yet in the chart, so I can't adjust the axis to see that, but that's where this one's coming from. And if you look way over here, you can see on the right hand side, this is the 1x1 line coming up from 0. So I'm going to add some mouse hovers and stuff so you can see where these lines are coming from. But the point is that, and this is really cool, is we can see all the GAN fan lines coming that are relevant, even if they appeared like years ago, right? So if we come back here, and this is June 3rd, 2019, this was a major pivot low, and we can see the 1x2 line is coming up from here, and we can follow it all the way up, and we can see it's still actually relevant today. So it could possibly provide some support over here as Apple heads into a predicted area of weakness with peak downside momentum on November 13th. Okay, so that is the auto analyze. I've got lots of work left to do to complete this feature. I'd say it's maybe a little less than half done right now. Like I said, I want to add mouse hovers so that these things can be shown. I want to add the ability to squish, push, or pull the axes so you can see it a little bit better. And also I'm going to be adding the perfect square counts, because like I said, the system automatically identifies the major pivot highs and pivot lows for me. I want to count the trading days, weeks, and months after that, and when that's a perfect square like 16 or 36 or 49, then I want to display that as well. So that's part of the overall vision for auto analyze. Now, the next thing that we can do is we can manually set the price per bar. So the price per bar is over here. So all that does is establish the relationship between the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so by default, it's off. So that means the system will automatically set it, and it will set the price per bar according to the price range. So it takes the lowest low that's visible, like March 23rd, and the highest high that's visible on September 2nd. That's the price range divided by the number of visible bars. That's the price per bar. Okay, so it's really just the relationship between the y-axis, which is price, and the x-axis, which is number of bars. So I can manually change that if I don't like it. If I want to see a little bit more detail, I can make it smaller. If I want to see less detail, I can make it bigger. Just type in the number you want, and you'll be able to see the price, the chart redraw. And when I make the price per bar 1, you can actually see what I was talking about earlier. You can see the GAN fans coming up from the 0 line here. Okay, and you can see the GAN fans coming up from the 0 line over here as well. All right, so again, that's a pretty interesting little feature. I've just fixed some bugs on that earlier this week, so it's working pretty well now. Okay, now onto the Wheel of 24. So this is an interesting little feature based on a lot of work done by Jean Long, who I believe passed away last year, which is unfortunate. When we show the 24 lines, this will basically draw a line every multiple of 24, and you can change the scale here if you want it a little bigger, a little smaller. Let me go back and turn off auto analyze so it doesn't get quite so busy, and I'll automatically set price per bar, and then we can go over here to Wheel of 24, and now we've got a little cleaner chart. So we can show the 24 lines and those of significance to her technique, and I'm not going to talk about the details of her technique right now, but you can also show the geocentric longitude of various planets, and those are converted from degrees to price using the relationship shown here. So this setting right now, so degrees per day, this is basically 1 degree per day. So you can see how Apple is kind of crawling up the sun line at the sun is basically acting as a trend line here at 1 degree per day. Penetrates that, comes back, tries to touch the, hits the resistance here that's formed by the combination of the 24 line and the sun line, drops down to the next sun line, crawls up that, punctures through the 24 line, and now it's falling off again. I wouldn't be surprised to see it definitely fall down to the next sun line at least, or maybe even further. So you can also see where different planets go retrograde as well. So when we put on Mercury, we can see that we're in the middle of a retrograde Mercury period, and we can see when those are ending. Okay, so Mercury being so fast, the longitude lines of Mercury are steeper than the sun. So I'm going to turn that off. We can also look at Venus. Now Venus is also pretty interesting. It's known as the money planet in astrology. I'm not an astrologer, but those are the types of things I pay attention to. So anyways, you can add the different planets that interest you, and just sort of visually gauge the relationship between the speed of the price and the planets, and add a different trend line onto it, or use the planets effectively as a trend line for the different stocks. So that's the Wheel of 24 tab. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this one's a little experimental. What I wanted to do here is explore the concept of Pythagorean angles. And this is detailed in Connie Brown's book. So I took the ideas there, and because I know where the major lows and highs are, pivot lows and pivot highs, I can basically overlay a grid of Pythagorean angles starting from the low point, and these move forward in time, and they also move forward in price. So I don't think I've quite figured out how to best make use of this. The chart does look a little busy, to be honest, I don't really use this all that much in my day-to-day analysis, but it is an interesting little concept. Feel free to play around with it and give me some feedback on it. And likewise, I also have not implemented yet the angles on the square of 9. So this is some experimental stuff that's under construction right now. If you want to draw some Fibonacci lines on the chart, you can also do that. I'm going to just turn off the wheels. So now we're in draw fib line mode. To do that, you just click where you want the fib line to start and drag it down to the end. It will snap to where you want it to go. When you mouse hover, it does select the fib line. And you can also draw some more over here. To delete a fib line, I don't have a context menu on it yet, but just hover your mouse over the line and then hit the delete key. Okay, and that, or backspace on a Mac. So you hover over the line, click it when it's yellow, hit delete, and it goes away. If you want to export the predictions into Excel or something, you can just hit export predictions, and it will download the prediction percentages from the swim lanes into a local file. Okay, so that's a quick summary of the chart area over here. So let's go over to influencers, and this is really interesting. One of the things I found as I was coding this project and trying to trade based on the predictions is that the predictions, while interesting, I wanted a little bit more context on what was going on here, like what was actually making these predictions, the predictions for a large decline. What was behind that? What was going on inside the model? So I guess I wanted to open up the black box of the predictive model. So that's really what the influencers feature is about. There's 3 tabs on the influencers feature. We're going to start with natal planets. So with the natal planets feature, what I'm doing is I'm actually cracking open that predictive model, and instead of giving an overall prediction for, you know, the combination of aspects on a given day, I'm using the model to identify, okay, what are the aspects with different planets that have the most predictive power, right? Because I wanted to know what are the most powerful aspects here, and you can see the total. So I'm looking at when all transiting planets make an aspect with natal sun. Okay, so this number represents, it's really just a representation of the weight of aspects with the natal sun. Same here with natal Mercury. So we can quickly scan along this line and we can see, oh look, aspects with natal Pluto have a pretty high weight. So those are important and have a lot of predictive power. And aspects with the natal Sun also have a very high weight and have a lot of predictive power. And we can see here that especially trines with the natal Sun have a lot of predictive power at 6.8. I don't see any other 6.8s anywhere here. Natal Neptune comes close at 6.7, so that's quintiles with natal Neptune. Because what I wanted to do with this is, because there's just so many aspects and so many planets, there's the system is tracking actually over 1,400 for every day. I wanted to be able to drill down and figure out, okay, what are the really powerful aspects? What have the most influence over price? I have no idea what those are. I'm not an astrologer, but these are the types of questions that I can ask the machine learning model, and it will come back and explain to me. So what I've done here is I've identified the most influential aspects, and I've got a little Pine script here that's generated that uses TradingView's scripting language. It's called Pine script, and this will draw a vertical line at the aspects or at the precise time that the moon activates these aspects. So I've gone and chosen the top, I think it's 50 aspects, because there's a limit of 50 lines in TradingView. So instead of just randomly choosing the first 50 lunar natal aspects, I'm choosing the top 50 based on these numbers and generating a script that can display on a 15-minute chart or a 30-minute chart in TradingView exactly when the transiting moon activates those natal aspects. So I've got a whole separate video on how to use this, but if you want to just, if you're familiar with TradingView and just want to copy paste this, then you can just click the little copy button, copies it into the clipboard, and then you can go over to TradingView and then paste that script in there. And then that's how you can get your intraday information. So let's go over here to Overhaul, and we can see what are the overall influencers. Okay, so like I said, Time Trades tracks over 1,400 different events, and you can see here, these are just the top 20, okay? So what I wanted to display here is, okay, what are the top 20 most influential astrological or GAN-based events that influence, in this case, 2 standard deviation percent change up. And you can see here it's Mars in Aries, it's the node in Leo, it's Uranus in Aquarius. Geocentric Mars is trine natal Neptune. So you can see all of the detailed aspects that I'm tracking here, including combinations of geo and helio planets that are making aspects with natal planets. This one's interesting. You might wonder, what is 9ZD or ZD? This is when we track the angle of Venus on the square of 9 and when it crosses the 0 degree line. So ZD stands for 0 degree. So on the square of 9, the angle crosses the 0 degree every once in a while. I don't know what it would be for Venus, whatever the orbit of Venus is, 180 days or something. So once the square of 9, once the Venus crosses that square of 9 0 degree angle, then we can trigger the machine learning, and it can use that information to make a prediction. All right. The rest of this is all pretty straightforward. I think to those of you that are somewhat familiar with astrology, you should be able to recognize all of this, all of these aspects here. So we can go over and take a look at 2 standard deviation percent change down. What has the most predictive power over that? Here's an interesting one. Neptune Helio 21.5 degree repeats. So if you look at the Helio-Neptune orbit, every 21.5 degrees, oh no, it's not 21.5, it's 2.15. 21.5 would be years. So it's Neptune Helio 2.15 degree repeats actually has some predictive power there. And then we've got trading day counts. So after, like I said, after every major pivot high and pivot low that's automatically detected by time trades, we start counting days. And this is when that trading day count reaches 180 degrees on the square of 9. Okay, so this is some of the GAN aspects that I've got embedded in time trades. We can go over here to 1 standard deviation percent change down and see what's triggering things here. Again, Neptune Helio 2.15 degree repeats. That shows up again. And the rest here is kind of standard astrological aspects with transiting and natal planets. You can see how important the natal planets are. Almost every single aspect here is with a natal planet. There's a few here that are not, like Saturn sextile Neptune or Venus sextile Saturn. But understanding the natal planetary positions is critical. Okay, so that is the second tab of influencers. The last tab of influencers is like, okay, overall that's really nice, but what's coming up next, right? What are the major astrological events that are coming up in the next month or so that have some influence over Apple stock performance? So that's why I created the calendar. This shows, again, the top 20 most influential aspects as determined by the machine learning, and displays it as a calendar. So I can see what's relevant now through through looks like December 11th is so it's about a month, so we can see here that right now, as of the next trading day, November 2, we've got Helio, Mars, quintile, natal, Jupiter, and we can just see all of the different aspects that are relevant and influencing the price coming up. So this isn't all of the aspects, this is just the most influential ones. So we expect to see a little bit more activity on the percent change down, because that's the overall predictions are for a movement down. So we can see here how the system has arrived at that prediction and what's triggering that. So you can see, you can kind of look ahead in time a little bit and see what's going to trigger a move up here. And you can see we've got Mars in Aries, so that's positive for Apple. So that's one of the major influencers for 1 standard deviation and 2 standard deviation moves up. But we can also see here that starting November 23rd, we also add geocentric geocentric Venus is quintile natal Mars. So that's another big influencer that joins the mix on November 23rd. So you can think of this as an overall roadmap to the astrology that matters for Apple. Because of course there's tons of astrology going on all the time. But using the power of machine learning, I'm able to identify the astrology that matters, which is really cool. The ephemeris tab up here, you can use this to sort of see what's going on in the sky at different days. It's just geocentric. A real astrologer would laugh at this. But I did kind of want to expose some of the aspects and what's going on in the sky. If you hover over your mouse over the astrological symbols, then you can get a summary of what that means. So for people like me that don't have a history and training in astrology, you can start to learn the symbols and what that means. Okay, and then finally, there's links to some legal stuff and the YouTube channel where you're probably viewing this video right now. So that's it for time trades. I wanted to give you that quick overview of the product. I hope you enjoy it. I'd like to thank you for using time trades, and if you have any feedback at all on the product, ideas for what you'd like to see, please let me know. I do plan to make this a paid service sometime in the future. So enjoy the free service while it lasts. It won't last forever because there is some hosting costs that I'm paying out of my pocket. All right, so thanks again for watching this video.